Chapter 2 dealt with the first four chakras, also known as the lower chakras, because they are associated with the four basic human desires of propagation, sustenance, preservation, and gratification. Chapter 3 presents the three remaining chakras, also known as the higher chakras, not only because of their physical placement upon the body, located in the neck and head, but because they relate to the higher functions of will, memory, and conscience. The fifth church is the church in Sardis. In the literal interpretation, this church era represents the birth of Christian churches apart from the Roman Catholic Church and extends from the onset of the Protestant Reformation in 1517 to the early 1700s. The Protestant churches live and yet are dead, meaning that though they are alive in the Spirit of Christ, they are also spiritually dead, having failed to completely remove selfish dogma or false religion. In the spiritual interpretation, the fifth chakra is associated with the thyroid gland, located at the base of the neck. Cayce reveals that this chakra is the seat of will. How do we use our free will? It is by our free will that we are empowered to choose to either embrace or deny the way of the Spirit of God. The sixth church is the church in Philadelphia, meaning the church of brotherly love. In the literal interpretation, this church era represents the revival of the intended purpose of the previous church era, which was to break away from selfish dogma or false religion. Some teach that the church in Philadelphia refers to the 2 centuries of revivalism that started in the early 1700s. This cannot be, because though the revivalist movement cultivated a shared respect for religious freedom and for brotherhood in Christ, it also continued to cultivate separatist, fearful, superstitious dogma. The church in Philadelphia is about the way of brotherly love. It is not a literal church, but a spiritual church whose congregation is made up of all who are true and faithful to the spirit of brotherly love, regardless of their worldly religion. They are the chosen ones, chosen by the Spirit because they have chosen the Spirit. In the spiritual interpretation, the sixth chakra is associated with the pineal gland, located at the lower rear portion of the brain. According to Cayce, the sixth chakra represents the seat of memory. To what purpose does our memory serve us? To apply the knowledge and wisdom we have learned about the way of the Spirit, or to find excuses by which to build more selfishness in our lives? The seventh church is the church of the Laodiceans. In the literal interpretation, it is not commended for anything because of its lukewarm devotion to the way of the Spirit. Though the Laodicean church confesses its belief in Christ, it is not true and faithful to the Spirit of Christ, and, for this reason, Christ stands outside this church and will not enter. In the spiritual interpretation, the seventh chakra is associated with the pituitary gland. Centrally located at the base of the brain, the pituitary, or master gland, secretes hormones that influence the body's other glands, as well as the mental processes of judgment, comprehension, and imagination. According to Cayce, it is the seat of conscience, the most powerful of all the chakras. The seat of conscience is not praiseworthy, as it is vulnerable to surrendering to one's selfish heart and motivations. When it does, it is the most objectionable of all the chakras. We are instructed to keep our seat of conscience aligned with the way of the Spirit, so that our souls are quickened unto the kingdom of the Spirit, or heaven. My next video blog looks at chapter 4 and John's visit to heaven. Thank you.